أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم أصلح عبدك وخليفتك بما أصلحت به أنبياءك ورسلك وحفه بملائكتك وأيده بروح القدس من عندك واسلكه من بين يديه ومن خلفه رصدا يحفظونه من كل سوء وأبدله من بعد خوفه أمنا يعبدك لا يشرك بك شيئا ولا تجعل لأحد من خلقك على وليك سلطانا وأذن له في جهاد عدوك وعدوه واجعلني من أنصاره إنك على كل شيء قدير اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. So before we go through the content, anyone has any question, anything? Anyone has memorized the dua that we just read? Has memorized, not had been memorizing before our class. Someone texted me, oh, I knew the dua. I said, okay. I word it in a way that if you have not memorized it and you started memorizing it. Not yet. We have one more week. Okay, so it's not that hard. Inshallah, everyone can memorize that dua. And thanks for friends that they shared their feedback. Someone said, yeah, this week I was more attentive to my Qunoot. So that was good. And other feedbacks that we received. So that's what we want from this discussion group. Not only, as I said many times, I've been repeating it. We don't want this to be just dumping information and knowledge, rather to get closer to the Imam alayhi salam and be better in our actions. So with that, let's get to the content. I tried to, again, there are a lot of this week du'as, this and that. So I tried to summarize and again, make it more practical, as well as there are some aqidah discussion, creedal discussions, which I want to spend some time today, elaborate on that would be good, not to just list some of the du'as that we learn and not do, for example, because there are too much. So as you remember, we were talking about the part 6 and 7 from the Kitab of Mikyal, which was about highlighted times and situations or occasions for prayer in general, and how to pray for Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. And that was the big picture. We finished the this side highlighted in white. So we're gonna talk about the rest quickly, and as I said, I'll try to focus on things that we can pick and commit to, inshallah, and some of the aqidah creedal discussion between the lines. All right, so days of supplication. What are the emphasized days about in general about dua and supplication, and specifically about Imam Mahdi alayhi salam? What I have realized from the approach and methodology of Sahib Mikyal is that he chose the days and recommended times and situations about dua, as well as going through a lot of different du'as and a'mal that we have, and pick the ones that the name of Imam Mahdi and the prayer for him have been mentioned, and gather those, which is an interesting work, to be honest. When you read it all together, as I said before, we'll see how much emphasis is there by other Imams, Imam Sajjad, in Sahif Sajjadiyah. How many times in Sahif Sajjadiyah we have prayers for Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, for his protection, for even his soldiers, awliya'ihi. So that's the approach of Sahaba Mikyal I wanted to mention. So there are, in the days of supplication, one first section is about the days of the week. Among them, Thursday and Friday Eve, which is Laylatul Jumu'ah, Thursday day, and Friday Eve, which will be Thursday night. As you know, is highly emphasized in general on du'as. There is one thing I wanted to mention. As I said, this is about our belief. Presenting our deeds before the Prophet and Imams, which we may have heard that prophets and Imam, they know about our a'mal. But first, and some people may be like, it's so hard for them to believe. As we're gonna see, that has been the case to one of the very close companions of Imam Rida, alayhi salam. That how come, like, the Prophet and Imams, they see what we do? First, I wanted to mention one Quranic verse, which is really important. Again, between parentheses, we as Shia should learn our Aqidah first and foremost from Quran. From Quran. And we have a narration, I believe, from Imam Jawad alayhi salam, that you will not be, in my words, you will not be nerd, you will not be expert, you will not be so deep in your understanding of religion unless you know the root of your belief from Quran. And this is a big thing that unfortunately we don't hear it much in our discussions, like lectures, whatnot. We think, no, we should go to ahadith. Of course, people that know me and you have been in these circles or other classes, you know how much emphasis we have on ahadith. But don't get me wrong, Quran is thiql akbar, the greater weight. And Ahlul Bayt have emphasized a lot on learning the root of our religion, the root of our aqidah from Quran. And don't think, oh, how about the there is no mention of it in Quran. Everything that is true in aqidah, it has a root in Quran. So knowing that, and another thing before we move forward, we see that trend in the wordings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. When people, Shia, Sunnis, Ma'mun, enemies, whoever, they come and they ask questions, usually the Imams alayhim salam, they give answer first from Quran, then elaborate on. So concept of raj'ah, everything, like whatever you think about, it has a root in Quran. The problem is we don't know. We don't pay attention. We don't read Quran. We don't read the ahadith that they reference Quran to support the belief. So we can't make the connection. So for example, one of them here, the concept, as I said, which is hard to believe, honestly, let's be frank, it's big. فَاسْتَعْظَمْتُ فِي نَفْسِي, the companion of the Imam says, which I can't translate in English. I mean, I found it heavy on my phone. Exactly. Okay, thank you. I found it very heavy on me to digest and accept. Okay, so that our a'mal, our deeds, are being presented to Prophet and to the Imams alayhimus salam. Quran says in Surah Tawbah, verse 105. This is one of the things that I want our community to memorize. وَقُلْ اعْمَلُوا فَسَيَرَى اللَّهُ عَمَلَكُمْ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ. According to simple Arabic rules, Allah, Rasul, and Mu'minun, they're all marfu', they're all basically fa'il of that action of sayara. Right? عَمَلَكُمْ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ. We'll talk about that in Arabic class. But anyway, and another important thing in this ayah, because Sunnis, they have this ayah for sure, but the way that they interpret, go search, this is interesting topic, is, oh, you're doing it? Okay, nerd. They refer it to the day of judgment, that do your a'mal. In the day of judgment, Prophet and Mu'minun will see your a'mal because it will be put on a screen. So everyone will see your deed. But Quran says, فَسَيَرَ اللَّهُ. Sayar Allah, friends, that they're Arab here we have. What does that mean? Sayar Allah. سَأَضْرِبُكَ. What does that mean? Will, but Sa. Ama antum Arab, as above Sadiq said to the very soon, not Saufa. Saufa adribuka means, okay, next week I will hit you. But
no, I'm saying continuously.
no. That's another. No, the sa. My point was on the sa. Sayar Allah, not Saufa yar Allah. It's a little bit off topic, but let me mention it. In the story of Prophet Yusuf, what do we have? When the brothers came and asked Prophet Yaqub, go ask Allah to forgive us, he said, Saufa astaghfiru lakum. He postponed. He didn't say, okay, immediately I will pray for you. Sa'astaghfiru lakum. And in ahadith, actually that's related to our topic, he meant, I will do that on Thursday Eve, Laylatul Jumu'ah, which we are talking about right now. So Yaqub alayhi salam knew that the Laylatul Jumu'ah is something special. So he said, Sawfa astaghfiru lakum. Later, I will do that because that night is a special night. But sa in Arabic means immediately, right away. When you're talking about future, when you use sa versus sawfa, that's the difference. So Quran says, فَسَيَّرَ Allah. If it was for Yawm al-Qiyamah, it would have said, سَوْفَ يَرَ اللَّهُ عَمَلَكُمْ. In the day of judgment, they will see. No, Quran says, فَسَيَّرَ اللَّهُ عَمَلَكُمْ. Very soon, like right away, they will see it. So what is the ayah says? I think I didn't translate. I was so excited. Say to them, go and act. Do whatever you want to do. Soon, God will see your conduct. By the way, I added that word soon because that was missing in the translation. Soon, God will see your conduct. And so will his apostle and faith and the faithful. So mu'minun, the faithful, that was my question. Sometimes I had chat discussion with non-Shia friends or even Shias that they needed the wake-up call. I was like, okay, do the believers see our deeds? I do in private, or even not in private, like other mu'minun in our community. Are they, beside the people that they are in, on the chat online, which only they see me, not you? But so that ayah doesn't make sense. Either you should say no, they're not believer, or you should say it doesn't make sense. Or there's another answer. Mu'minun in this ayah are specific group of people which are Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, that they see our deeds. So Sahib Mikyal, let's go back, remember where we are, refers to that and say, remember on Thursday we have other ahadith that our a'mal are presented to the imams and to the prophet. And we have chapters in our primary sources, which I mentioned for those that they are interested in Al-Kitab al-Kafi and also Basair al-Darajat. We have chapters specifically about this topic, that Ardul A'mal ala Nabi wal A'imah, presenting before the Prophet and the Imams. So where we are, again, we're talking about the days and nights and moments that are important to supplicate and pray, and to do specifically about Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. We talked about other times last week. Now we are in the days of the week. Now Thursday and Friday Eve. That's how the flow of conversation and discussion is. And we, in parentheses, we are talking about one important topic in Aqidah, which I want to remind ourselves again to have some practical notes from the Hadith. It's interesting. In a hadith that you see on the screen, which I want a volunteer to read the English for us. First, who can read? Anyone? Yusra Khan, can you go ahead, please? Samerra.
What is wrong with you? Why do you disappoint the messenger of Allah? The man asked, how do we disappoint him? The Imam said, do you not know that your deeds are presented before him? When he finds sins in them, it disappoints him. Do not disappoint the messenger of Allah. Do things that will make him happy.
So that's a very strong reminder for all of us. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam started the conversation with one of his actually good companions. We were talking about him this morning in another class, Samerra ibn Mihran, telling him, what's wrong with you? Why you're disappointed, Prophet? Why you make him upset? Prophet is alive. See that silly question? Of course he is, and he's watching us. Why do you say salam to him every day in all your tashahhud and salam? So Imam Sadiq says, why do you upset Prophet and disappoint him? And not someone, فَقَالَ رَجُلٌ, someone asked, how come? How is it possible that Prophet is dead? That was his mindset. Imam said, don't you know that your deeds are presented before him? So whatever he sees that his ummah, his community, till day of judgment, we are all ummah of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It upsets him that why my people are doing this. And rather, Imam says, فَلَا تَسُوءُ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ وَسُرُّوهُ, make him happy by your du'as, by your good deeds, by your nice akhlaq, everything that we all know, with the salawat and all those good deeds. There is another hadith which is important and in this topic from Imam Rida alayhi salam, as I mentioned. Another volunteer, brother Reza, can you read it? I see your hand still up from last time that you volunteered. Go ahead.
Sure. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Our kind father prays for us. Abdullah bin Aban al-Ziyad, who enjoyed a good position in the sight of Imam al-Rida alayhi salam, has said the following. Once I asked Imam al-Rida alayhi salam to pray for me and for my family. The Imam alayhi salam said, am I not praying for them? I swear by Allah that your deeds are presented before me every day and night. He, al-Ziyad, has said that the statement of the Imam alayhi salam seemed to me extremely great. The Imam alayhi salam said to me, do you not read in the words of Allah, act as you wish, soon God will see your deeds, and so will his messenger sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi and the believers? The Imam alayhi salam then said, I swear by Allah that he, the believer, Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salam,
is Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ahsan, great. So, Az-Zayyat, Abdullah ibn Aban ibn Zayyat, you heard it, right? My point was that was a heavy concept, right? So when he asked Imam, can you pray for me? And Imam alayhi salam says, am I not doing that? So you are reminding me something that I am doing it every day for you. And don't you know that your deeds come to me? And again, this is a concept that we see from Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam telling the close Shias, because that might be, again, great and heavy for them. There is another narration just came to my mind, which is narrated by Sayyid ibn Tawus. So, Sayyid ibn Tawus, we have to talk about him at some point. He said, once I was going to Sardab in Samerra, and then I heard the voice of the Imam alayhi salam. He didn't see him, but he used to know his voice, his tone. Anyway, that the Imam of our time alayhi salam is praying for the Shias, and with the similar concept and context that, oh Allah, our Shias, they have sinned, so we ask for forgiveness for them. And Imam alayhi salam continues praying for us. So anyway, I wanted to use this opportunity to talk about this concept that the Imam and the Prophet salawatullah alayhim ajma'in, they see our deed and our deeds are presented to them. We don't know how, what is the means and instruments. We can't, of course, get that. That's fine. But we know that this is done, and they will see it, and they will be knowing about our a'mal. So it's bad, at least once in a while, we remind ourselves that, remember, things that I'm doing in private, Allah is seeing now, and prophets and the Imam of my time, that I want to be close to him and be connected to him and pray for him, will see that. And that's not cool, right? Honestly, I'm not talking from the police perspective that, oh, they will come after me and Imam will hit me. No, but from the perspective that we should connect to Imam, that he's a kind father. So his heart will be broken seeing the Shias that they're supposed to be the followers and the companions are sinning and making him upset. So in the words of Amir al-Mu'mineen, when he was talking about Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, he mentioned some titles that are really heartbreaking. Amir al-Mu'mineen, talking about Imam Mahdi, said he will be بأبي الطريد الشريد الغريب, the one that is alienated. People don't care about him. And again, of course, we don't expect Christians or atheists or non-believers to think about Imam Mahdi. Who does the, again, these that I'm talking about itself, I mean, it's heartbreaking. Who the Imam has? We sinful, poor, broke Shias. So it's so bad, it's not cool to be so disrespectful and keep breaking the heart of the Imam alayhi salam, who is the heart of universe. So let's move on. We have other things to cover. So back to the Thursday and Friday Eve we're talking about. It is, Sahib Mikyal mentions a lot of great points, but again, for the sake of time and being precise, I skip those. One point is Friday Eve specifically has been mentioned to nights that we pray for our brothers and sisters in faith. And who is the closest one in faith to us beside Imam alayhi salam? Again, yes, we should pray for everyone, but remember that first and foremost. With that, let's talk about Fridays, which is our Eid. We usually in our conversation, even here, I hear a lot from friends, Jum'ah Mubarak, when we are saying salam or start the conversation on Friday, which Friday is among the Eids, the days that Allah picked for this ummah. Sahib Mikyal again goes and talk about the significance of Friday. It's interesting. He mentions 7 points about Friday, which is amazing, and how it's connected to Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. The day that he was born, the day that he became Imam Askari alayhi salam passed away on Friday. The day that his appearance is expected, al-muntadharu fihi dhuhuruk, and other things, like 7 points. And as you remember from session 1, he has a book written specifically about Friday, Adab al-Jumu'at. So he refers, okay, if you want to read more, go in that book. I mentioned more about the significance of Friday. There are a lot of, as I said, deeds in Fridays. I suggest that we pick and commit, as I said in the takeaways, we'll see, for ourselves. Again, as I mentioned, I think last session or 2 sessions ago, قليل تنوم أرجى من كثير يمل. Pick something that doesn't bother on and exhaust us. You can be smart, that's fine. One of our friends were like, last week after we finished with chatting, he was like, oh, I'm not going to do that long dua. I will just pick that اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرج. I want to stick to that. That's fine. That's great. Okay. The moment that you said, okay, since I learned the importance of Qunoot, I'm going to at least pay more attention. That's great. Okay. قليل تدوم. Stick to that. Don't say, oh, yes, dua kumail. Amir al-Mu'mineen used to recite it while being in sujood. Okay, yes. Don't say, oh, from tomorrow I'm gonna do my dua kumail in sujood. Yes, I wish I could do that. I enjoy that, but I'm not in that league. Inshallah, I'll be. But for now, I'll stick to 5 salawat Friday Eve for the health and protection of my imam, and I'll stick to that. Okay, don't make big things that sometimes that's shaitan. Like, do that to make you yomel, to be bored and exhausted. Altogether, khalas, Mikyal, I don't like it. That's why I'm a little hesitant. I have a lot of challenges when I'm putting these slides, what I should pick. Myself and the audience, that they're youth, the young, it would be too much, right? So anyway, there are a lot of du'as while going to masjid. In them, they're mentioning of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. In khutbah, Imam Baqir alayhi salam, he has a recommended khutbah sermon for Friday prayer, Salat al-Jum'ah. In that, there's a dua for Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, which I wish our scholars in the Friday sermons specifically not forget talking about Imam Mahdi. If not, just pray for him, as Imam Baqir alayhi salam recommended. As a reminder, there's a dua, another dua from Imam Salih alayhi salam, not dua, but a hadith that he says after dua Salat al-Asr, after Asr prayer of Friday. I read the hadith. Imam alayhi salam says, in the day of judgment, this is interesting, the days will be resurrected. Exactly. But leave it for future. We have concepts like that. Quran will be resurrected in a form of a beautiful human being. Days will be resurrected. So, in just very brief, and I move on, don't underestimate things that we hear and see. The world is not just what we see and what we work with in lab or in chemistry class or things like that. There are more complicated concepts and realities beyond what we see before our eyes. So anyway, Imam alayhi salam says the days will be resurrected. There's a haqiqah behind days. That's why they say Friday is more important than other days. It's not random. It's not like arbitrary. Okay, let's make Fridays something cool to make ummah, give them a break. Okay, Friday is good. No, there is a haqiqah in them. Imam says, in front of them is Friday, which is like a beautiful decorated bride coming. Yes. And then the bride, not the bride, but Yawm al-Jum'ah, will stay on the gate of heaven, and the other days will stand behind her. Okay? In that moment, our bride, Friday, will do shafa'ah for who? For the people that they recited salawat the most on that day. Recited salawat, اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. So, day of Jum'ah, Friday, will have the power of shafa'ah on the day of judgment. For whom? For people that they recited salawat the most on that day. So, Rawi is Ibn Sanan. He says they say salawat a lot. The hadith said kathir. The guy said, I asked Imam, what does that kathir means? Like, how many should we do that? So Imam says, if you want to be, the exemplar of that is, and what time of the Friday is the best, as we're going to talk about. Imam says, after Salat al-Asr, 200 times this salawat that we learned about in the past. So let's move on. Just we heard the hadith.
So kathir is 100.
I don't say kathir is 100, but when the guy said kathir is relative, right? So Imam says, if you want to be among them, do 100 after. For me, it might be, oh, okay, let me not give a fatwa or anything. But let's read the hadith. We heard it, right? So you want to read and commit, that's good. If not, just that's good to know. At least we learned about a bride, right? So continued, Friday. Quick reminder about the Qunoot of Imam Rida alayhi salam that we read. That's a beautiful hadith. I mentioned about Friday's sermon. So one thing that I wanted to emphasize, and is, in my opinion, can be one of the good takeaways, is the golden hour of Friday from both concepts, like golden hours, you know, in the photography, in the morning and the afternoon. But here, I mean the afternoon one. It's a golden hour, and it is golden hour. There's a beautiful hadith from Lady Fatima, salamallahu alayha, that she used to ask someone to go check the time once the sun is halfway down, which is, by the way, that golden hour was my creativity, so it's not in a hadith or anything. Halfway down the sun, Lady Fatima would do the most du'as in that moment. Friday afternoon, like evening-ish, before full sunset. We have a lot of emphasis on that hour. Recite the dua for everything. Again, this is the time that the dua is highly recommended. And of course, on top of them, as we talked about, is the dua for Imam Zaman alayhi salam. I mentioned two duas that are here, and then Areza, go ahead with your question. One is Salawat ابوالحسن Zarrab Isfahani, which is, first of all, it has a very beautiful story. ابوالحسن Zarrab was one of the companions of the Imam in the time of minor occultation. He's among the people that he met the Imam during that time, where in Mecca. It has a very beautiful story. The house that was in Mecca and was the house of Lady Khadija, and it was inherited through the Ahlul Bayt, and it has a beautiful story. I refer you to Mikyal or other books that they have narrated the hadith. But the salawat is very, first of all, educational. The content is very deep, and also it's not that long. I mean, 5-10 minutes, not more. So inshallah, I'll post a link to that dua in the group. So if you are interested, which Sayyid Ibn Tawus, by the way, as an encouragement, I would say, he says, if you couldn't do anything in the Friday, you were too busy, you were occupied, you couldn't do any of these list of only Friday, which I'm among them, don't miss Salawat ابوالحسن. It has some secrets and like good, amazing content in that you're gonna miss a lot. So don't, I mean, at least commit to this dua, which at least based on recommendation of Sayyid Tawus, I also recommend. And this is something I have tried to commit to, and it's so beautiful to, in any moment. Again, sometimes I'm driving or going, at least I play and I read, and very soon you can memorize it, at least the first parts, that it has the salawat on all of the imams. Side note, when the narrator is teaching ابوالحسن Zarrab, he says, she says, the teacher actually is a old lady that used to be khadima of that house. How do you say salawat? He says, I say salawat, اللهم صل على محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى إبراهيم. She says, no. When you want to do a salawat, I'm adding in a full good version, do the salawat to all. Let me give you a booklet that Imam taught me this salawat. اللهم صل على محمد سيد المرسلين خاتم النبيين وسيد المرسلين المنتجب في الميثاق المصطفى في الظلال. As I said, the content can be discussed a lot, and it continues about all the imams, and then a lot of salawat and prayers for the Imam alayhi salam. And then dua, اللهم عرفني نفسك, which the dua itself can be a topic for a couple of sessions, like 3-5 sessions to talk, because it has a lot of discussion about Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, which I refer you, whoever is interested, to Mafatih al-Janan, in the, it is Muntakhab, I don't think it will have it. In the last part, Salawat ابوالحسن is at the beginning of the Mafatih, but nowadays we just YouTube things, right? So I'll send the link, it's easier. But اللهم عرف نفسك is towards the end in Mulhaqat, or appendix of Mafatih. Anyway, yes, Areza, I talked a lot, so give the folks a break.
No problem. Yeah, thank you. So regarding the golden hour, so Dhuhr time is when the sun is at its highest peak. Asr time, when the people from the Ahlul Sunnat pray Asr, is when the sun is at its midway point from the highest to Maghrib, and then Maghrib is obviously, post sunset. So is this golden hour at the Asr time or in between Asr and Maghrib?
They say it in the late hours of Friday in general, okay? But in that specific hadith that I mentioned from Lady Fatima, I think it is, I should have it on my Noor. It is on when the sun is halfway down. So like very, very last moments of the Friday.
So basically Maghrib time, right before Maghrib then?
No, not Maghrib. Right before sunset. Maghrib in Shi'i fiqh is like 15-20 minutes after sunset. But this is technically before sunset.
I see. Okay.
Before that.
Ghurub. Right before Ghurub.
Before that.
Yeah, okay.
Sunset is how you draw in my childhood. How would you can laugh at me. How we used to draw the sunset? Just one line, half circle. That's golden hour. That's what the hadith said, like it was halfway down. And then some light beams. So was it clear now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. But okay, don't let's not get stuck to like these technicalities. Just the last hours of Friday is important. Let's not miss that and be attentive to those moments wherever we are, at work, at school, at home, doing yard work. That's one of the times that I have time to do yard work, so I play it and do the dua. So that's what it's better than not doing it. Anyway, any other comments or question? Oh, you didn't put the clock, by the way. So the other room had the, yeah, I'm checking it, but 11:25, give me a reminder. All right, so don't be scared. I just wanted to list the list, quickly go over them. Some of them talk more, some of them less. There are special days in the year that we talked about, the days of the week. Now special days in the year that are, again, Sahib Mikyal looked at the du'as of those days and chose and picked the ones that have mention of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam in the dua. First one, that mentioned by the book, is the day of Nowruz, which is basically the beginning of spring, which we have some a'mal for Nowruz, not from Persian perspective, those that they celebrate Nowruz, even though we have a hadith that Imam says to the audience that the Ajam, like the Fars, those people, they appreciated Nowruz and you ruined it. We have something like that because, anyway, Nowruz is important. It's a day that Eid al-Ghadir happened, as you may have heard, and other importance. One of them, we have interesting hadith that says, in that day, ma min yawmin nayruz illa wa nahnu natawaqqa'u fihi al-faraj, is one of the days that we expect, we are hopeful that we see the faraj, the coming of Imam alayhi salam. Then Ashura is one of the days that remind us we should remember Imam Mahdi the most during that day for many reasons. One is that's the peak of mourning of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. Allama Amini Rizwanullah alayhi, it's narrated that he used to give sadaqah more and more on the day of Ashura for the health and protection of Imam alayhi salam. That Imam is in sad moment. So we should think about and remembering him. And in some of the du'as that narrated from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, we have the dua for Imam Mahdi on the Ashura. Next one, even the day of 15th of Sha'ban. As you know, 15th of Sha'ban, which is the birthday of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, before that it was, and it still has been highly appreciated and recognized by all Muslims. Sunnis, they have a lot of amal, they consider it as a holy day, and they fast. During the time of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we have a lot of recommendation about that day, which in our dua, those that they were here in the ihya, that we were up and reciting duas all night, one of the duas we say, oh Allah, because of this night that you added to its holiness by basically decreeing that the birth of the last Imam be on that day. So it was with more holiness, basically. So we have, again, of course, a lot of du'as in that night, specifically about Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. So let's go little faster here. All days of month of Ramadan, the spring of dua, basically. But the 23rd, as you remember, which dua is specifically and firstly taught to us on that eve, like 23rd eve, Laylatul Qadr of 23rd? Everyone knows. About Imam Mahdi we were talking, right? اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه. Yeah, what is that? Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's what I said. Firstly, I said firstly. In that night, if you read the Mafatih, Imam says, read this dua because that's specifically for that night. And then it says, and read it at all time, at all day, all moments. So the Sha'n Nuzul, at least, of that dua, famous dua that we all read, is on the 23rd of Ramadan, but is recommended for other days. So there are other times like Eid al-Fitr, we have the dua. Sahib Mikyal mentions different days of Ramadan that there is a mention of Imam Mahdi. I'll skip them. One that is important, I wanted to emphasize because actually we are very close to that, is next week, is Yawm Dahwa al-Ard. Dahwa al-Ard is 25th of Dhul Qa'dah, June 14th this year. Don't celebrate June 14th every year, okay? It changes. So next week, right? Next week, June 14th, is called Dahwa al-Ard. Dahwa al-Ard, again, just to have some break from all these listing. What is it? Anyone knows what is Dahwa al-Ard?
The earth was spread
From? At what location? Started? Okay. So, yes. Dahwa al-Ard. Daha means and Dhaha. Remember we had that discussion about Dhaha and Daha in Arabic. They are very spreading of the earth. Yes. from the bottom of Kaaba, the location of Kaaba nowadays, that's where, according to our hadith, the earth started to spread from and coming on top of the water, taking over of the water. Yeah. And that day is really important. One of the 4 days of the year that fasting is highly recommended. And the fasting of that day has the thawab of fasting your lifetime. So smart/lazy people that like me, that they're looking to find the shortcuts, 4 days are recommended to do fasting that has the thawab of lifetime fasting. One of them is Dahwal Ar. One of them is 27th of Rajab, the Mab'ath. The other two, go research. And on Dahwal Ar, we have the it's interesting that one of the days that is dua is highly recommended. And it's interesting if we think about it. Why? Because that's the day that the ni'mah, the blessing of living on earth, was granted to mankind. That Allah, in my words, made the earth inhabitable, right? Habitable, sorry. That otherwise it was all water, right? So Allah, on that day, the earth started spreading, right? Spreading. So we thank Allah for this blessing that created us and made and created a beautiful habitable earth for us with all these bounties and beauties that surround us. So and in that we have the dua for Imam alayhi salam, because that's the day, again, the rahmah, the mercy of Allah has spread, and it's expected again among the days like Friday is expected, and we are hopeful to see the faraj. So let's mention others quickly and move on. The Yawm al-Arafah, Eid al-Adha, and Eid al-Ghadir. So there are these days, as you all know. I just wanted to at least list them. There are special du'as and attention about Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. Any comment, any question? Is it boring? Allah, he is the champion of warning. He knows, and he knows that after that I have still 15 minutes. Don't worry about it. Okay. Let's move on. Special moments. Special moments. There are again a lot. I want to. I skip them all, but one, which is after mourning for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. That Sahaba Mikyal, he narrates. It's in dream, but that one of his peers saw Imam alayhi salam in a dream, that saying that I will pray for any Shia that after mourning for my grandfather Imam Hussein prays for me. So and again, we don't need necessarily that hadith or word from Imam. It's obvious because after mourning for Imam Hussein alayhi salam is one of the moments that dua is readily, the istajaba is readily available, right? Because we are all cleansed from our sins and bibarakah because of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So that's one of the closest moments to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And more importantly, in my opinion, one of the main titles of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam is, how is it related to Imam Hussein? He's the tha'ir of Imam Hussein, the revenger. And this is actually one of his main slogans on his flag. So it's connected. And as we do ziarah Ashura, at least in 2 places in the ziarah, we ask Allah to make us among the people that come with the and yarzuqani talaba tharika. So make us among those people that will be with Imam Mahdi. So with that, we wrap up the times, and now we go to locations, which I again skipped or omit a lot of this. You can see in the Mikyal all locations that we know: Masjid al-Haram, Arafat, the shrines of Ahlul Bayt in general. I want to only emphasize on, as we agreed, we have time till 11:45, like hard. Yeah. So unfortunately, which I think that's one of the plans and I don't know things of Shaitan, when we go to Iraq for doing the ziarah, we stay 4 or 5 days in Najaf, 4 or 5 days in Karbala, and then how many days in Samerra do you stay? Just with you go 4 or 5 hours. Why? Why? What's wrong with us? Oh, okay. There is no hotel there. Okay. What else? I just want to emphasize on the point that why we are missing it. And that's why I say this is a trick of Shaitan. Samerra, oh my God, nowadays, that excuse is not acceptable. I remember when the time of Saddam or others, we go, yes, that was like, nowadays you can stay in Haram. They provide you free meals, everything, blanket, shelter, everything. You go and stay there. But we plan, the most we stay is 1 night, go and come back, because I don't know. Samerra, remember, this is another takeaways. I think I forgot to put it there, but Samerra is literally the house of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, where he was born, in that premise, and that's literally the inherited house from a father to a son, which has a beautiful story. I mentioned it. I don't know anyone from this audience were with us. One of our trips in Karbala, in Samerra, we met the Ataba, and they gave us a tour and good some information and history. Long story short, nowadays in the Waqf Shi'i of Iraq, the deed of Samerra is under the name of who? Waqf Shi'i? The Imam alayhi salam. It has a beautiful, amazing, miraculous story that how that happened. So one of the guys that they after Saddam that they took the like possession and tried to fix things. The Waqf, not Waqf Shi'i, they had this hardcore Wahhabi in position of the I think municipality, and just bring these document, that document. He tried to put a lot of problems and obstacles. Long story short, it's a beautiful long story. At the end, when they went to submit and write the deed in and do the Waqf, the guy was writing and said, oh, this property has a living heir. He took the page and say, no, this is belonging to Muhammad ibn al-Hasan al-Askari al-Hay. He's the heir of his property. So why I keep emphasizing on that, I said emphasize on Sardab. When we are, and side note, the entire premise of the Haram nowadays that we go used to be the house of Imam Mahdi. Yes. So those that they love tiny house, don't. When Imam Mahdi entered, was by force and brought from Medina to Samerra, he purchased that land. And so basically that whole Haram is the house of Imam Mahdi. When you are there, you are in the house of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, literally. And then the place that he was born, the place that his father, his mother, his grandfather, the aunt of Imam Askari alayhi salam, they're all buried there. So he definitely goes and visit them. And again, that's his house. Just one side note, and I think we have to stop here. This is something that one of our scholars mentioned, and there are some other, details and stories about that. Arabs, we mentioned that they didn't appreciate Nowruz, but now say something good. They, as you know, they are well known with hospitality and welcoming the guests. One of the greatest tradition that they have is when you enter their house and sitting on their rug and carpet and asking for something, they go above and beyond to just make that wish and request fulfilled, right? I see confirmation from our Arab friends here. When we go, remember that next time when you go, inshallah, to Samerra, it's not like other places of the shrines of Ahlul Bayt. The other shrines of Ahlul Bayt, they were not the houses of the Imams. Different places, because of the history that happened, this happened. But Samerra, when we go, that's literally the house of the Imam. Do not just walk in. I am entering your house, O Imam, and then I'm sitting on your carpet. I'm sitting on your rug. And beside, I don't want to make it about race and all, but that's a tradition of Arabs. And beyond that, you are the Ahlul Karam. You all merciful family. Now I'm sitting on your rug, I'm literally in your house. So don't miss those moments. Do not let shaitan say, oh, this is that, just go. The caravan people are in rush. We want to go to Baghdad. There is no hotel. There is no food. We will get sick. Enjoy the moments. And you should be patient. This is not in the hadith or anything. This is like personal experiences. I have a lot of personal things that I can share about Samerra. We don't have time, and some of them should be not recorded. So, but if you are patient, you will see gates open. Imam really welcomes you in a best way that you couldn't think about, that you are here, welcome. So I treat you with the highest level of hospitality, that you will go with your hand full of barakah and attention that I gave you, basically, because you are my guest, literally, you're in my house. So I wanted to, there's other things that I want to talk about, but let's skip and go to we'll talk about it inshallah next week. But suggested takeaways before we recite the dua and open for more discussion if anyone has. Pay more attention to Thursday night, Friday eves, and Fridays. As I said, the fact that Imam alayhi salam sees our deeds, and he can commit to 1, 2, 3, whatever that you can and you think you can commit to, and be consistent. Du'as, salawat 100 times after Asr, or Allahum Aslih, or salawat ابوالحسن, اللهم عرفني أفسك, whatever that you feel comfortable. And I suggest, especially friends that they're more comfortable in English, which I think majority of our audience are, read the translation. So when you understand what you are reciting, it's more joyful and easy to basically commit to, because it's not just some Arabic words that I don't understand, I'm just uttering them. No, just I mean, there are a lot of good videos on YouTube. Inshallah, I will share with the subtitles in English that everyone can, and I think all other languages as well, Urdu and Farsi, they're available, but Chinese I'm not sure. So we have to check. Okay, with that I'll stop here. Inshallah, next week we still have not finished the section 7 Briefly, we talk about that is etiquettes of du'as. So section 7. And after that, we go back to section 4 of the book. Okay, section 4 of the or part 4 of the Mikyal. So I will send a note in the group if you want to do a pre-reading. Would be and section 4 is so long. Don't be frustrated. I think we will have at least 1 or 2 weeks talking about it. We'll switch the gears. We go to another world, talking a lot about Imam Mahdi himself. We were talking about the dua and all of that, but next 2, maybe 3 weeks, this is the roadmap, so it's a lot. Would be very interesting and different from previous weeks. Any question, any comments? I hope I didn't exhaust you too much, but what time is it? 36. Anyone has any comments, any question, anything to share? Thank you. Can you see the heart? Oh. All right. Feedback. How was the structure? Everyone besides Faisal, because Faisal will say it was. Huh? Exactly. No, but joke aside, was it too much? Like, be frank. I just want to know, because I had really hard time because there were a long list of this dot, that dot, this day, that day, and I was like, okay, what is the point of going through all of them if I know that I personally can't commit to, and why I should just give lecture about something that might be. Yes.
I think if you can't put them in the slides, if you could provide them for group channels.
These slides or those? No. I do.
Oh, okay.
Every week I make it as it's hashtag handouts. So my hashtags are not so interesting, or hashtag thing. Yeah. Anyway, Instagram hashtags. So it's just for finding them easier. Once you click, it will be listed on Telegram. All right. So I think with that we can recite the dua and close our session. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة، وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا، حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. اللهم اجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره، وهب لنا رأفته ورحمته ودعاءه وخيره. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.